time is it? Yeah, just as I suspected. It's time for another Ute drag race. This time I've got the, sorry, that was terrible. I've got the BYD Shark 6 versus the 2025 Ram 1500 with the new Hurricane engine. This is the standard output version. Be interesting to do the high output version, but I think it would beat the BYD pretty easily. They're obviously not it's not a fair comparison because this is a full-size pickup truck while the BYD is more of like a mid-sizer, like a Hilux or Ford Ranger. Also, the Ram is around $140,000 excluding on roads, while the BYD Shark is just under $60,000 excluding on roads, so it's about half the price. But I was looking over the specs and they are very similar in terms of performance. So the Ram has a 3-litre twin-turbo inline-6 petrol engine, 313 kilowatts, 635 newton meters, matched up to an 8-speed automatic, while the BYD has a 1.5-litre turbo petrol 4-cylinder, but that acts mainly as a generator for 2 electric motors combining to produce 321 kilowatts and 650 newton meters. So very similar specs on paper, but then when you start to add in some other things like the power to weight ratio, very similar again. The Ram weighs 2,640 kilograms, while the BYD weighs 2,700 kilograms. That means with the BYD producing a little bit more power, but being a bit heavier, the power to weight ratios are actually very similar. You've got 118.47 kilowatts per ton in the Ram versus 118.45 kilowatts per ton in the BYD. So this is about as close as it gets. Unfortunately, it's been raining most of today and yesterday. Usually I try to dodge the rain. I'll come back up here twice, 3 times in the same week just to get a clean run in the dry, but it's just been absolute chaos lately and I haven't been able to get this up in the dry. I've spent probably most of the afternoon here waiting for it to dry out. This is about as dry as it's getting, but the road is still very much wet. But in saying that, I'm going to run the Ram in 4-wheel drive auto because the BYD runs in 4-wheel drive all the time, so it'd only be fair to have them both running in 4-wheel drive. And there's not too much problem when you've got it in 4-wheel drive. It does actually spin the wheels a little bit if you try hard enough, like if you really build the engine revs up on the brake. In the Ram, it will actually spin all 4s off the mark. But I figured out a way where you can just build the revs up enough just to take away that transmission slack, just of a torque converter. To get it off to a nice immediate start, but not produce too much wheel spin. A little bit of wheel spin is actually okay because it gets the engine revs up and helps the, that's where the power is for the engine. So it actually helps out a bit. So we'll see how they go. As usual, I'll set up the tripod, 3 different spots down this private road for the full quarter mile. And then the results at the end are the best results as per the VBox. So whatever the race looks like here, on camera I mean, the figures at the end are the best I got out of both vehicles on the day. Also, it's worth noting that the BYD is slower as the battery depletes. So, you know, you can set it to 70% charge as you're driving along, but that ends up causing more load on the engine or the overall powertrain. So it's not actually quicker to run that way. I've done a number of tests in the BYD, and the quickest is to get it up to 70% or get it to 100% if you can by plugging it in, and then run it in like without the automatic charge on 70%. So just flick it over to sort of hybrid mode. So that's what I'll do here. Just keep in mind that every time I do a run, the battery depletes slightly. So then I got to come back to the start line, move the camera and do another run. So I'll show you the battery percentage as it's going down. So the last run on camera, when the camera is right at the end of the quarter mile there, that's going to be with the battery at about 50% or a bit less than 50%. For the BYD, so that's a little bit slower. But then the in-car shot is it with 70%, I'm pretty sure. So that's kind of the maximum performance you'll get. And then the VBox results were with it at 70%. So I made sure the battery was nice and charged when I got up here, did the VBox runs straight away, and then did all the video footage. Let's see how they go. There we go, that was pretty close, but the BYD just gets there in the end in terms of the VBox results. So as I said, the VBox results are the best times that I got out of it, regardless of what the footage looks like. The BYD, yeah, it starts to slow down as the battery depletes, which I think is a little bit of an issue. It's like saying, you know, well, it's the opposite with a petrol vehicle. The more the petrol tank empties, the faster it becomes because it becomes a little bit lighter. Whereas electric vehicles, they kind of lose a little bit of performance as the battery goes down. Some promise, I remember going to a Porsche Taycan launch event and the engineers were going on about how it has repetitive performance, and we did a whole bunch of runs on a track, all the different media going through, and it did actually offer the same performance. I think some of the times were quicker towards the end. So it is possible, but I think with the BYD, because it's a kind of range extender, it just works a little bit different than a full electric vehicle. Although it does drive on the electric motors most of the time, the petrol engine can power the front wheels if it needs to, under a certain speed, or over a certain speed, sorry. But there we go. What would I choose out of these two? I think it's kind of irrelevant. This is way more expensive, different style of vehicle. I would take the Ram because it's just a big beast. I love the new inline-six engine as well. As much as I love the old V8, this thing is so smooth, it actually makes it a luxury car. We went for a bit of a trip on the weekend, took the kids away, and on the highway, it's just, yeah, it's like a train. It just very, very smoothly cruises along. But again, this is priced from around 140,000, which is way more than the BYD. I think BYD's done very well to get that Shark onto the market so quickly, and it's quite unique. It's got a great design, it's got great technology inside. I think it needs some tuning in terms of the off-road performance. As we saw in the original review, it struggles to put the power down. It tries to, yeah, I don't know. I think the brains just need to be tweaked a little bit. When it's under load, it's like a drill, you know, when you sort of hold the drill and when the battery's going a little bit flat, you can kind of hold it and it goes, and it just sort of stops. That's kind of what the BYD Shark does, or it did for me anyway, when I was climbing up a pretty steep hill. It just sort of, and it just wouldn't give me the full power, which is a little bit disappointing. If you're after a ute, in my opinion anyway, if you're after a ute, you want to carry things in the back or tow things, and the BYD Shark falls short in terms of just figures compared with the established rivals that are out there now. And then off-road, it's not quite as good. You could argue that it doesn't come with low range, but that's not really, you know, the market's fault. If you go up and you're selecting between them all, and you think, okay, well, I might go off-road, well, that doesn't come with low range. That's a bad thing. That's not an excuse, really. It just doesn't come with it. This does actually come with low range. I've never actually taken one of these properly off-road. I just don't think it will go that well because it's so long, the wheelbase. So you're going to be having scrubbing over some things because of the breakover angle there, because the wheelbase just stretches so far. It does come with mildly aggressive tires, but yeah, they're not super. This is not ready for full off-road, in my opinion anyway. I think this is more of a sort of towing vehicle, good for towing heavy things or putting heavy things in the back, going for a cruise with all the family and still having, yeah, plenty of room left over. But there we go, the Shark did win here, and it proves that it's got a very good potential. If they just tweak it a little bit and tune it, fine tune it in the future, I think it's going to be a cracking ute for the market. I can ask, what would you choose out of these two? I think it's a little bit unfair, but you can tell me if you like. Let's pretend they're pretty similar price. What would you take, the BYD Shark or the Ram 1500?